legit, like she was approaching the door to the door that's next to council offices, and I come like right out as she was trying to come in, and she almost got some cheese on the floor. Oh my gosh. That's the worst when you go with high expectations and then like, and his Christmas shirt. Ho ho ho. Merry Christmas.
The kids will say, no, I'm sending it to me.
I didn't see you. I would have announced it.
I gotta get some glasses so I can see.
So if you got any problems with your pay, I guess that wouldn't have been appropriate. Hello. Welcome to
Jason, yeah, he's done. That's what he's saying, yeah.
Oh, what's this?
Don't mess with my setup. That's my computer. Don't touch it.
You need yours too? Maloney, did you need to do a presentation too?
Hmm?
Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 4:02 p.m. on Thursday, December 14th, 2023. I'd like to welcome everyone to Richland County Council's Transportation Ad Hoc Committee meeting. This meeting will now come to order. So, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Brenham. Livingston. Weaver.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next item on the agenda is item 2, approval of the minutes from the October 24th, 2023 meeting. Any changes, any additions, or amendments to those minutes? There
Motion
being
to
none?
approve.
All right, so the motion on the floor is moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Any changes, additions, or amendments to the agenda? There being none, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 4, items for action. 4A, Sunset Drive Sidewalk Project Award of Construction. Director Maloney, you recognize, and good afternoon.
Thank you, Chairman Walker. This project constructs not only a sidewalk from River Road all the way down to near North Main Street. So there's a connection around the Burger King right now on Sunset Drive that just gets you past the Burger King and the corner. This will start at that first block and goes through along a neighborhood, through another signalized intersection, and then off towards the end of Broad River Road at River Road, or River Drive, I'm sorry. And the project adds curb and gutter to a road that's essentially what we call a rural section. The pavement just has a 2% cross slope and then trails off to a large hillside. So on that hillside to put in, there's a relocation of water main necessary for this project, as well as putting in the curb and gutter and then the sidewalk. Ultimately, there'll be a retaining wall and shoring put in for the construction of this project.
Director Maloney, I'll open up or for questions or discussion. Just want to recognize a couple of our colleagues that are present this afternoon, Councilman Derek Pugh, as well as Councilwoman Gretchen Barron. Good afternoon to you both. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so any questions on this item?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Move to properly second. Okay, any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey. Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda, I'm sorry, Director Malone, anything else before we move on to the next item?
No, sir.
All right,
Mr. Chairman,
you recognize,
this may not be the appropriate time, but while Director Maloney's here, I do have one quick question about transportation. Can I ask it now? Thank you, very quickly. At one of our Zoom meetings a couple weeks ago, which I managed actually to get on, I asked about those bus stops at Richland Mall. And to my knowledge, they've not been done yet, and I haven't heard from anybody from the comment that I'm aware of anyway. Could you possibly?
well, let's do that offline, Councilman Weaver, because now that's deviating from what's on the
Oh,
agenda.
okay, I'm
So I
sorry.
would say
Okay.
just ask that question offline,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
No, that's fine. Or if I see Director Maloney, I'll mention it to him.
That's fine, well, yeah, well,
Okay.
what I mean, that's what I mean by offline.
Sorry.
All right. Next item on the agenda is item 5, items for information. It's the Transportation Penny Campaign. And so, Ms. O'Kane, you recognize, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman Walker, members of council. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you all this afternoon. I know that some of you have seen this presentation, but my team and I thought it be important that all members of the committee have an opportunity to hear from us, as well as other members of council. I promise not to take too much of your time, but happy to answer any questions that you might have following the presentation. So basically what we want to do here today is really look at where we've been over the course of the last year and a couple of months, talk a little bit about where we are now, and look ahead to where we would like to go as a team. Before I get started, I do want to acknowledge the communications team and Director Maloney and the Transportation Penny team. for their efforts over the last year in promotion and public education as it relates to the program and projects. So in September of 2022, late September, shortly after Chelsea and I were onboarded to the communications staff, we began our initial meeting with Director Maloney and his team. This was to talk about projects that have taken place, successful projects, projects that were still in the works, and how we could move forward with better educating the public on the successes of the transportation penny. We continue those meetings and continue those meetings today on a weekly basis, so we are all in constant communication. As part of those meetings, what stemmed from that is we began to do more outreach as it relates to the community, public engagement efforts, celebratory events, and that quickly led us to the end of the year. And many of you might remember we had our first celebratory event as a team on December 7th with the opening or the ribbon cutting for the Green Street Bridge that was highly attended, several stakeholders, dignitaries, and leaders from the community. The day after that, we were out at Bull Street and Elmwood for the groundbreaking there. There's some photos from our celebratory event in December. We garnered great news coverage from both of those events. Just a few examples there from WIS News, the Post and Courier, and the state newspaper. Heading into the first of the year, again, we continued our discussions with Director Maloney and his team. We also began the conversation with our consultants at MP Strategy about the development of a transportation penny website, a re-envision page that offers more engagement for the community, that offers a better avenue, if you will, for people to find out information about projects taking place within the county and in their districts specifically, and where those projects stand. As part of that conversation with MPS, we went down the road of re-envisioning the logo. We felt that with the launch of a new public information campaign, if you will, and then also a new website, we really needed to connect a new logo with our branding as well. At the end of March, you might remember we broke ground on Blythewood, the Blythewood Road groundbreaking. Also received consistent media coverage with that as well. Those are examples from Watch Fox News, The Voice in Blythewood and Fairfield County, as well as News 19 WLTX. All right, moving into April, we continued website development conversations. We discussed those with administration to get their feedback. We had conversations with a few members of council about those plans and what that looked like to get some really solid feedback before we move forward with launching our new product. In April, we celebrated the North Main ribbon cutting. Again, one thing that I can say is when we have these groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, we do get great media coverage from all of the outlets. Headed into summer, in July, we launched the Transportation Penny Facebook page. And we also kicked off our filming of our Penny Project update videos, which feature Director Maloney and members of his team. And then in August, we launched the Transportation Penny website. And I mentioned to you earlier about the logo, and there you can see where we began with the logo, from the black and gold to our conversations with MP Strategy. They gave us some great options to choose from, and then ultimately we went with an internal design, if you will, the design that we are consistently using now to spread the word about the penny, and that is the design that you see on the end there. There is a look at our Transportation Penny Facebook page cover. If you've not had an opportunity, I encourage you to log on. There you're going to see a lot of updates from the videos that I was talking about to the infographics and educational graphics that you see on your screen there, as well as informative and educational posts. And I will say that we are not at the engagement that we would like on that right now. I looked this morning, and we have about 109 followers. I will say that the conversations that we do have through this page has been a great avenue for us to not only converse with, but educate the public. So if you have not done so already, I will encourage you and ask you to go on and follow that page and like it. And I didn't mean to skip over this, but we also, there's a look at the front cover of our Transportation Penny website. And I think, one of the great pieces about this website is not only the fact that it, you can go there to get the information, to see what celebratory events we have covered, but there's also a search function for residents. And this really gives them easy access to see where projects are in their area, whether they're in the design phase, in the construction phase, or completion. So they can easily search that information and find out the status of work in their areas. All right, moving on to August. That started what is turning out to be a busy end of the year. And we began our conversations with the Transportation Penny Advisory Committee to discuss the State of the Penny Address, which would ultimately be held on November 2nd. As you all know, this was the first time that we had given this address in quite some time, about 10 years. So we were excited to bring this to reality and got great feedback, great support, great participation from that, highlighting not only the Transportation Penny, but how it has affected economic development and various other parts of the county. We continued our conversations along the way leading up to that event. And we also got some great media coverage. Some of you might have seen the interview with Chairman Walker and the TPAC chair, John Black, prior to the State of the Penny Address, but we also snuck in the Alpine Road groundbreaking as well. So that was an exciting celebratory event for us. There you'll see some of our marketing collateral that we use, the invitation, save the date information, posters to raise awareness, get people out to support the event and take part in the event. We also had several Transportation Penny outdoor digitals throughout the community. Clemson Road and I-20, I-20 and Highway 215, and I-26 and Greystone Boulevard. And we do appreciate our friends at Lamar Advertising for donating that space. And there's some information as well as far as some of the other collateral that we used, and also giving residents, stakeholders an opportunity to share comments, ask questions leading up to the event that we were able to not only answer as part of the event that evening, but also following up with them to again continue the conversation and answer during the TPAC meeting that was held following that event. Again, great news coverage, WIS, the Irmo News, Northeast News, just to name a few. And this leads me to our newly envisioned Transportation Penny design that will go up throughout the community. We are in the process of purchasing about 25 of those to start in the busier areas, and we will move forward with again, purchasing those and placing those in highly trafficked areas. All right, so where we are now, hosted the State of the Penny Address, obviously. Now we are collaborating with a consultant, Chernoff Newman. Many of you have had an opportunity to sit down here recently with Chernoff for input sessions. We are continuing those and wrapping those up at the first of next week. But what those really are to talk about, where are we headed over the course of the next several months as we look at the possibility of a continuation of the penny. So a big part of that is going to be the public education campaign, meetings in districts, how are we truly and best engaging with the public. So we brought them on. Again, they're having conversations with you all. We've gotten some great input already from those of you who have had an opportunity to meet with them, and we'll be able to tailor the information that you all have given us and develop a media toolkit and some information that will evolve along the way as we move forward into the campaign at the start of the year. We are planning to launch that campaign in February. We are very mindful of the Democratic and Republican presidential primaries that will be taking place during that month. So we are looking at the most strategic time to launch that campaign. This will likely include a large press event. But again, we want to make sure, ultimately, we want to make sure that you all are involved in the conversation and that we continue to receive your input. We remain in consistent communication. And also, I do want to mention that as part of that, obviously, proactive media relations will be key. Tomorrow, Deputy Director Bennett and I will actually have a meeting with a reporter at the state newspaper to talk about more in-depth storytelling as it comes to covering the penny, what our successes have been. I know some of you have heard that there was a story that was written in the state recently where they talked about William Street, but didn't mention that it was supported by the penny or made possible by the penny. So those are the types of things that we really want to correct. And I do also want to mention before I close and take questions that the project lead for our team on this will be Deputy Director Bennett. I will be involved in the process, but she has really hit the ground running and will continue to do so. So with all that said, I try not to take up too much of your time, but if any of you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Let me begin. Eddie, any questions or comments from members of the committee? You recognize Ms. Mackey.
Thank you. Thank you for the update, Director O'Kane. Just one other piece, and it may be going on and just wasn't in the slide, but can we also somehow make sure we continue to coordinate with TPAC? I know they meet on a regular, and there's things that happen in their meeting, things they talk about that also I think it'd be good for the public to at least know and be aware that we did a great Save the Penny, but their organization meets on a regular and they continue to review these projects as well before it even comes to council. So
Absolutely.
I think it'd be good to promote them.
Yes, absolutely. That is a great point and a great educational opportunity as well. So yes, thank you.
Councilman Pugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I just want to say to Ms. O'Kane and her staff, you guys are doing a great job. It's hard to see it when you're in it, but as you just ran down the timeline, I'm like, oh, we did do that. We did do that. And so I appreciate you guys just guiding us, and we will continue not to ask questions, just follow directions.
Thank you, Councilman Pugh.
Additional comments, questions for Ms. O'Kane? You recognize Councilman Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Ms. O'Kane, so you said y'all are mindful of the national primary, so I guess that's like February. So when will you start the rollout? Did you say that?
We are going to start the rollout in February, but we want to make sure that it
Okay.
is the right time in February.
Okay.
So we do not want the campaign to be, or the launch of the campaign to be overshadowed. So we want to make sure that when we come out big.
Or probably late February.
Yes,
then. Okay.
probably.
Okay, very good.
But, Mr. Livingston?
I'd like to recommend that when we talk about transportation penny, we don't just simply say penny campaign, let's say education campaign or something. By law, we're not really allowed to campaign.
Right.
And they're thinking, got us in trouble.
Yes, great point. We will be very mindful of that. Thank you.
Additional follow-up? You recognize Ms. Mackey?
Just one more thing. You guys we have done a lot. So this whole roll out, kick out, I guess my thing is we're doing it right now. You guys have been doing it. You just went through all this. So I think there's another addition that you're adding to, but we have been communicating. And so I guess that's the piece I want to say. I don't want to make it seem like we're just starting something
Right.
in February. You just ran through a whole bunch of stuff that we've done and we're continuing to do and continue to use. So I guess I don't want that to get overlooked by what's coming, because we
Gotcha.
have done
Yeah.
a lot.
Recognize,
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. O'Kane, I join in the, I guess, the praise of my colleagues that has been heaped upon you and your staff, and with respect to your efforts. And I know it's not easy, but just, again, want to say thank you for what you and your team are doing as far as making sure the word gets out in the community regarding all the good that the Penny has done, is doing, and what we expect it to do with respect to future projects. So, again, it's a educational campaign, as we say, but nevertheless, just I think this is great. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Chairman Walker, members of council.
All right, anything additional? Director Maloney, you were not part of the presentation. No, I'm teasing. Go ahead. You recognize.
This was just an announcement since TPAC was brought up.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to thank the council for bringing 3 more members to TPAC. We'll be meeting with them tomorrow to bring them up and backfill a lot of information for them. The next TPAC meeting is next Monday night. Thank you.
And here's my question. It just prompted me to ask a question of you, Ms. O'Kane. Is there anything that you and your team need from council, as you continue with this educational campaign?
Yes, we will be reaching out to you and communicating with you all. As I mentioned, your input and feedback, suggestions, invaluable. So we definitely want to keep consistent communications. And if you have a preferred means of communications, I know I like to send out a lot of emails, but not everyone, is always on their email. So if you want a phone call or whatever that might look like to you, please let us know. We are flexible and happy to accommodate as to whatever's best with you all.
Good. There is nothing else. Next item on the agenda is 6, adjournment. I need a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Moved to properly second as non-debatable. Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey. Motion approved.
We are adjourned.